This conference will now be recorded.
Okay,
So we got to start.
sorry about that. I will officially start the meeting now. It's 3 o'clock. We're going to start the Stoneybrook Advisory Committee meeting it's the February meeting, and today is the 3rd, I believe. February 3rd at 3 o'clock. We'll start with in attendance. Attendance is myself. JT Thomas is not here. In fact, he wasn't here last month. As I'm looking at these minutes, his name is here. That needs to be removed. He was absent. Angela Sullivan, Thomas Roller, Virginia Stacy, Warren Davies, and Chris Capillo are all in attendance. As far as the minutes go, does anybody have any comments about the minutes? There were a couple minor things that were misquoted for me that I believe have been changed by Georgia. And other than that, I believe Warren might have had something, or you said it was okay
What's that?
on the minutes.
No, I read the minutes again today. I didn't say anything.
Okay, anybody else? All right, because they had been, what you read today had been a couple minor modifications. All right, so I'm looking for a motion then.
So moved to accept the minutes.
So Virginia has moved to approve the minutes. Can I have a second?
Second.
And second came from Angela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. All right. I don't know why the final budget's still there. We got to get that line item out of there. It's there every month. And we're not talking about it anymore. It's a done deal. So I'm just gonna cross that out. Okay, approve the gate system for Stoneybrook's entrance. And that's, I believe you all have this in front of you right now. This is that correct? From IQ, New IQ LLC. I believe they were called in for maintenance or repair for a whole bunch of problems. Is that correct?
Yes.
That Shannon had done that? And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may not have seen it and you may have, but I think I did see somewhere a bill for around $1,000 to do maintenance on that. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Okay,
That's
so,
That's $1,000 on account or that?
well, it
repairs?
was,
We have a contract with them for $1,000 to do repairs?
No, that was individual bill for these gates break almost every day.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
let me answer your question. I think what you're asking is how did they get brought out in the first place and run up $1,000 bill? I believe Shannon did that. I think she called them, brought them in because the things were not working. It might have been a weekend, always seems to be on a weekend. And that was the bill we got. And we
Who originally installed the gates?
Oh, that goes back some years now. I think it's before his time. Was it Cypress? Anybody? Does that ring a bell with you, Chris? Were you here?
Yeah, I have to go back and look at the file, who it was that did the original.
The reason, I do know it wasn't these guys.
Okay,
That I
so,
will tell you.
but we use these folks now to repair the gates when they come down.
Correct.
Do we have a contract with them to do that, or are we doing on
Sound like
a
a per diem.
per break?
occurrence, Yeah, because she was getting better. She told me better prices and much better service.
They were coming out on time, because sometimes we had problems over the weekend and we couldn't get the other guys to come out. And if they did, it was like they put a mask on when they filled out the bill, you know what I mean? And, but these guys on their own went and submitted a bill for repairs. And this isn't a dollar amount here right now. I would think that we would be obligated to put this out to bid. Anybody disagree with that?
Well, what are we trying to do? Replace the gate? I took this as that this was just a price list of how much it's gonna cost. If we want a controller PCB, it's gonna cost us $325 because there's no bottom line figure. That's what I took this at. This is what the parts cost. I didn't take it that they were gonna replace everything.
You know, I can't answer that. I noticed it's a zero bottom line
Yeah,
number.
that's what I,
And I didn't know how to take that either, and I guess I gotta ask Chris.
Yeah, I'm reading it now.
Not this Chris, I'm
I
sorry.
know.
That Chris. And, you know, how did you take this when the bottom line was zero?
have you seen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just looked at it like they were giving you a price list. It wasn't any work to be done. That's
Something
the
like
thing.
Warren
Yeah,
said.
that's what I'm saying. That's what it was.
It says an estimate.
Yeah, because I looked at this, it was never run by us, and when I saw it after the fact, I didn't know what to make of it, I'll be honest. And Shannon was under the impression, am I correct on that, that this
was
had
all
been
getting
approved?
done. Yeah.
This was getting done. I know, unless I was somewhere else, we never reviewed this or approved this to do this, so.
That's,
Do we
first
know-
I saw, when it come through, I looked at that, that's what, my immediate thought was this was a price list.
Do we know if this is the company, it was it about 2 years ago where they put the lighted arms? All that was new. The main box might not be new, but the new arms were new. Is that this company?
I do not think so.
I think she's only been using these people 4 to 6 months.
Okay, so the previous company is the one we couldn't get out there to
You
fix
know, the
stuff?
previous company wasn't Cypress, it was someone else, and I'll tell you, it was a company that Scott had brought in. Scott, who is now over at Pelican.
Previous camp.
And I can't recall the name. I don't remember, I'd be guessing. I think the guy was located in Lehigh, we figured we can get him out there quickly and whatnot if something happened.
If we're gonna replace them, I would say for this total, for over $10,000, we'd have to bid it out for
Well,
sure.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. So at this point in time, this is not a done deal. It has not been approved, has not been assigned as far as we know. So I don't know if we want to handle this through here or handle this in our office as far as if we're going to be putting this out for a bid. And the only relationship with these guys was Shannon.
But I'm
Correct.
curious, like, who told Shannon to get it? Did the board, the HOA board, ask her to go and get an estimate?
No.
No, she was surprised to find out about this.
Okay,
No,
So there's
they did
confusion.
it on their own.
Yeah.
somewhere, okay.
Who, the board did or the?
No,
Like
this
you.
company.
I mean,
Oh,
they're
okay,
working right
okay. I
now,
can
so
understand
I'm
that,
trying to
yeah.
figure out why are we even getting an estimate even if we don't need the repairs, anything repaired?
And in fact, aren't we 9521? This says 9250. I don't think that's right, is it?
I don't think
I think it's a different community. Let me look
But
it
in
up.
any case, yeah, I don't know what to do with this right now. So we're not going to make a decision on this unless someone objects to that.
so.
What-
I'll hold this for the new cam so she knows
Yeah,
when things break, this is what they're gonna cost.
well, I'll tell you what, how about we handle over to the new Cam and ask her to look into it, contact this company and find out what the story is. What they were doing and who told them to go and get this, because I have no knowledge of it.
It's 9521.
What's that?
9521 is correct. It is 9521.
Yeah,
So
but
they
that's not what,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's not-
Yeah, they transposed the numbers.
I looked at that number and I said, eh. All right, so I'm gonna move on from that. We'll deal with that at the next HOA board meeting. How's that? Discuss that. Sound like a deal?
Correct?
Okay. All right, discuss and decide anchor tree service, current contract, new contract. Well, I think this is gonna be quick, cut and dry. They went up $5,000 to us, and I'd like to, someone to make a very quick motion not to renew the contract for the next year, this upcoming year that we're currently in, and do that on a per piecemeal basis and put it out to bid. Is everybody okay with that? If we need trimming, we get a bid.
I have a question. In this week's board book, one of the topics is the opening tree, or the bid opening for tree maintenance and arborist, and also for the landscaping. I can,
This is the board book for here.
well, yeah, for tomorrow, that Brian's gonna present. You pass that. I don't know if we are included in those prices by the contract. The top one is the tree maintenance and arborist, and the bottom one is the exterior landscape contract.
Anchor is here bidding.
Yeah, they're bidding, and these are the bids, and this is what they're gonna look at tomorrow at the board meeting, I believe, because it's in the board book. And I'm just wondering, you know, like, of the $59,000 for personal touch for the first year, how much of that is ours? How much of that is gonna pay for Stoneybrook, or is Stoneybrook not included in there? But the contract we have currently includes the Stoneybrook information in it. So that's my question. I agree with where you're going, Joe, but I want to make sure what this is before we do anything.
I do not know, and I don't think it includes Stony. I can check with Brian. I'd have to ask him. But
Yeah, I think that, you know, Warren, now that you mention it, there was a time we got billed for it separately, but I'm not sure we were included in this larger bid.
Yeah, well,
I think we bid, like, you know, when we had landscaping, and we have that one section that does pass through along the road, which is an issue that, you know,
the
will be coming up for budget time.
the
I don't think we're in here.
the tree maintenance and arbor services contract, which was back in January 16th of 2018 to 2021, is the one that we're dealing with. It was included on it that we would pay, of the total cost, we pay $8,300 a year for the maintenance, for the tree services and stuff. And Gateway Services for their areas was $34,300. So that's why I was asking that question. The prior contract has us included in it, and it's, you know, everything broken down as to what's being done and how it's going to be done, et cetera. So this is the contract we're currently under.
This is for tree maintenance and arbor
Yes, we were already
service,
in
all
there.
of Gateway Services.
Yeah, we're already in here, but I don't know what this is. This was just from the board book that I got today.
So how do we?
Can you
find
guys
out?
hear me?
We hear some, yeah,
JT,
Okay, I'm in. Thank you. I'm muting myself. I just want to make sure you can hear me. That's all.
All right, very good. Yeah, we can hear loud and clear, in fact. Quick, I'm sure you don't remember any better than we do, but just in case, there's an issue that Warren just brought up about a bid going to be considered tomorrow at the Gateway, and it's for tree maintenance and arborist services. And he said in the last 3-year contract, we were included.
Yep.
And that's where the contract came for the 8,000 or whatever it was.
$8,300 a year.
$8,300 that we had been paying for them over a period of time. And I'm just curious, Chris, do you have any idea if we are in these numbers?
I'm going to send Brian a text right now and ask him.
And if we're not, we have to,
I just remember
Yeah, I think
them
that was-
saying about the price was going up and you guys said it
Yeah.
was too high. and-
Yeah, $5,000 was our increase.
Yeah.
And geez, we don't ask that much of them.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and I'm sure it's not, you know, I was getting a price from somebody to do my tree. And it came around to the discussion, if I got a few more people on my street to do trees, which I was not successful. He said, I can charge you for one day, bring a crew out here, $12.50 a day. And I asked him, would you do that for the entire community along Pebblebrook Boulevard? And he said, sure.
That's
And he said that, you know, we'll estimate how many days, but at $12.50 a day, if it takes 2-3 days to do the trimming, we're way ahead of the game, if that's true.
And that's the discussion I had with some of the people at Anchor, because I was trying to find out how many palm trees we had along Pebblebrook and how many hardwoods we had. And he was going to get that number, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. But from the villa standpoint, we have 210 palm trees. And they trimmed every tree right around Christmas time at a cost of $4,000. And they send somebody out, and this same thing that Arbor said, that if the more trees you have And the more people they can send out one time, the better price you're gonna come out for one tree is bid. But I think it worked out to like $20, $25 a tree.
Mhm.
And they have to use climbers and stuff like that. You can't just use regular landscapers. And our oak trees, when we do our oak trees, they start at about $35 a tree because they have to climb up into the tree to clean out the inside and stuff.
Inside, right.
Yeah, so
Good deal.
so that's the cost. And I was trying to figure out, because I agree with you that it'd be nice if we could just say, okay, we need them to come out and trim our palm trees along Pebblebrook
Yeah, we get X
and
number of
do it one
trees.
time. And if they can come out for 1 day or 2 days and do it, it'd be less expensive for us. In
I
that
think so.
respect.
And
But,
we'd have more control over when it gets done.
right, and like I mentioned before, the contract just calls that, we keep paying $691 a month.
Mhm.
But if we want anything done on the trees, we have to call them. There's no
That's
maintenance
right.
program built into their contract.
Which I have to confess, shame on me, but I was kind of operating under the assumption there was. They
Yeah.
came out with some regularity, but apparently
they-
they don't. And in fact,
That's a problem.
after our discussion, when we had with them, when we were talking about trimming and cutting down,
Yeah.
and removing trees along the pathway, not all of you were privy to this, but you were there, Warren, I'm pretty sure, and I know Chris and I were. And they were talking about how the number of trees and how the trees are growing faster. And they normally just come out one time, do palm trees, and another time and do
Oaks.
the other trees. And they may not be in the same year. This
Yeah.
year may be palm trees. Next year may be
Now they-
deciduous trees.
In my discussion with Anchor, their interpretation is that they come out once a year, do the palm trees, and once during the 3-year contract to do the oak trees. Now, under section 3 here, service intervals, it says services shall be performed on an as-needed basis for service locations unless otherwise specified by the project manager. Work order to be generated, et cetera. So that's what they work on, but they do, in their minds, they come out and do all the palm trees once a year. And then the oak trees, they do them once in the 3-year period. And really, where our oak trees and stuff are, it's really not that big a deal other than the umbrella, keeping the umbrella up. And I don't think there's been a real big problem getting them out to do that, so.
Well, I know in the past I put pressure on him and he brought it up at that meeting too. Because you used to hear about get it higher, open
Yeah.
it up by the lights, because we were trying to get more light on the sidewalks and not be shaded by the trees. And they did,
Mhm.
but it was a constant reminder to do that.
Yeah. But my concern would be if we voted on this and said this now, and then the board approves these fees, that could be a problem.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons I think we need a word from Brian as to what these things include, because I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
Any better
and I
than
think
you.
at the cost, because they're all up there kind of high, I
Some
think the cost
are
would
ridiculous, I know.
include everybody. so.
538.
Huh?
That one, 538,000.
Well, I think we're only looking at the top 2.
Well, I think so too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, there's one down Superior Landscaping Lawn Service. I don't know them, but they're almost artificially low.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't.
But in any case, I don't know how much knowledge Brian has of these various companies to discuss it, but.
And I would assume.
Yeah, if we could find out if we are included in that or not, because I think the consensus, we talked about it briefly, I've talked about it to board members, that they would just as soon get out of that contract and go to a as-need basis.
And I would assume, and I know you shouldn't do that the bidding went out for this, probably using pretty much the same specifications, because that's what they put that as part of the contract,
Mhm.
is the RFP specifications they put out on it, so.
Well, I do know that Laura was telling us already that she knew, because she wanted to know what we were going to do. I was getting emails from Laura
Yeah.
asking us if we were aware that the thing was going up $5,000.
Yeah.
And that the contract would be renewing. And initially, we thought it was maybe March 31st, but it's not. It's the beginning of January, I think, or sometime in
So I
January.
think, well, this says January 16th, 2018. So it could be whichever it is.
So my point was, that's why I wanted to jump on this. And if we're going to cancel, let's cancel it now rather than run up a bill and they're
At least-
thinking that we owe money.
At least our portion of that, Ours is a percentage of that, but they break it down by Gateway Services and Stoneybrook. So,
But it's not that way in this, I don't see any breakdown.
no, there's no breakdown on here. I think that's the total contract. Yeah.
And isn't that $600 taken out every month
Six
automatically?
91 was taken out every month, that's
$691
correct.
Yeah.
But recently I had told her to stop that, so she wanted to know when to pay it up until, and I said, well, I'll pay it up until the end of the contract.
Yeah.
Which we thought was March.
March, yeah.
But actually, it turns out we only owed them for December. And I believe that's all that she has paid them is up through December. I don't think she's paid them beyond that. And I'd like to terminate it so they don't think they get money
Yeah.
from us in January.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's February.
Anybody object to that approach? And I was wondering, do you have a suggestion? What should we do? How should we accomplish this?
I think I'd have to ask them. I think the contract with Stoneybrook was terminated. 'Cause when
Okay.
You said you didn't want to.
We didn't want
That's
to do it,
what I
right?
think,
I
that
told
they
Laura
just-
that,
yeah.
but I wasn't sure if it passed through the system and everybody was aware. Okay?
Yeah,
So, how
I
about-
agree with what
We-
you're saying.
we need to
So
get
let me
notification.
just say this, that contract was terminated because I said so, and I don't like to do that. So I'd like to have a vote here by this committee agreeing that we are terminating that contract. Did I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All right, so we got Virginia has made the motion to terminate the contract with Anchor for the tree service trimming and arborist. And we're not eliminating our relationship, but I also have a second from JT. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, it passes. We are terminating that. And, we still may use them to do work, but they're gonna have to bid for it, and they'll have to bid against. And I think,
we need to get with Brian to make sure what this whole thing is. Yeah.
well, Chris has said he thinks they did not include it.
Oh,
And we'll
okay.
hopefully get verification on this before
Yeah.
we leave today.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on from that, and I'm gonna consider Anchor no longer under contract with us. And we can get a list of other players. I've got a list here, and although some of these guys don't even know I want to talk to them, but we can, and possibly approach it on a per day basis as needed.
And they've pretty much finished up the pathway, so we don't.
All right, but and I was even being slow, dragging my feet and giving them a termination simply because I didn't want them pulling out on us in the middle of doing this other
No, that's
job.
different. That was a separate contract.
I
They
agree,
finished
I
it.
agree,
Yeah.
but they could drag their feet.
So can we have that?
Have they, let me just, one more question, Aaron. Did they finish grinding down all the stumps?
Yes.
all
All
the
the stumps are
stumps are
down
done.
and the barrier has been installed.
And the barriers installed?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
geez.
gotta walk up and down Pebblebrook once in a while, Joe.
I've been busy, I'm telling you.
They did the
How long did it take them? How long did it take them to do the barrier? Because I didn't see any action out there.
They were out there on one Friday, I think it was Thursday or Friday. I checked my notes. And we had marked where they were gonna put the barrier, and they started and they ground the trees and used the same equipment to dig the hole for the barrier.
Oh, really?
So they just moved right along, and the longest space they had for the barrier was 65 feet. The rest of it was like 14 feet, 16 feet or whatever. So they just cut as they went down.
And
to
you
that.
did walk along it and you're happy where they put the barrier in?
Oh, yeah, I marked it.
Okay,
Oh, I
and
was-
so it meets your needs
Yeah, yeah.
and what your
that's- yeah.
expectations.
I didn't realize we were supposed to do that until I asked when they're gonna do it. He said, well, as soon as you mark it. I said, okay.
Good man, thank you, Warren, we
Thank
appreciate
you
that.
so much.
Those were the white flags and the orange paint.
I showed you one morning with the can of orange paint, and I'm like, he did like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning.
He's doing graffiti on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really do appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Then I would say that can we approve the job being done and then they can release the check? Or we-
I'd wait till we get an invoice from them.
Oh, we haven't got an invoice yet. Okay.
They have a purchase order. So I just should wait till they
All
get that. Because I still been dealing with them a little bit. on
Well, what
some stuff.
happens, they may get a bill tomorrow, and how about a motion that says that we approve that the amount that was proposed, and as long as the bill doesn't deviate from that?
Yeah, I didn't bring my tree proposal stuff, but it was about 10,000 and some change.
Yeah, I think 200 and some odd dollars.
Yeah, 10,000 some change.
And weren't we waiting for Chris to have that approval to?
No, he didn't need it, he approved that.
Yeah, he approved.
He approved it. He did. Has anything happened with you having the $30,000 approval yet?
No.
Not
We're, we have to change like district rules and a number of
Okay.
things, so we're,
I can understand that though. There's an opportunity there for the flaws. All right,
I have another
so,
question.
Ken,
Can
well,
we
let me
have-
just wrap this one up. Unless, is it
Well,
about
it's
this?
Well,
All right, go
well,
ahead.
you kind of jumped from Anchor to what's up. My question is for the new CAM, to be able to find out like a calendar schedule of previous work that Anchor did that we should have documented. So the new CAM, this board and the other board knows when the palm trees were last cut, when, so we know what to do next. If we don't know, instead of asking like, we don't know when they were cut or trimmed, we need to know those dates. Palm trees in the tree, because we are gonna be bidding this out in the future on our own because
It'll
we're
be
not
on,
working for
but
it.
it will be on an as-need basis. I don't think we're gonna go by an actual date schedule.
So can we find out when it was done now?
You
From-
guys should have that in the office, I believe.
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Who's going to determine when it needs to be done?
What's that?
Who's going to determine when?
I would say that probably,
That was my question too.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do that?
I would say that would be the responsibility of the board, of the office to determine that.
Yeah, the CAM should be coming
Yeah,
to us.
because I'll be honest with you, this is going to be their dime next year. Okay? Does everybody understand what's changing here? That this stuff right now, that's part of what Brian wants, and I assume Chris wants Gateway out of handling this stuff. They don't want to be overseeing it. Now, there may be a situation that a couple of board members, a couple of us here, and may want to meet with Chris and whoever to sit down and talk about if we desire to manage it. We may not have a choice, but possibly they'd be willing to pass the billing through that.
I was gonna say, no matter who checks and whatever does it, it's still gonna have, if we're gonna use 04 money, it still has to come through us to get into here.
Yeah, but that's my point. The money will originally not be raised through taxation. We'll be managing it unless it's something you guys got to talk about. This board's got to talk about. I don't know if we can pay for things that Gateway doesn't feel responsible for
But
through
if they own
taxation
it,
and no 04.
but if it's a gateway asset.
It's
and-
not. That's the point.
Okay, well,
Where
if it's
these
not their
trees
asset,
are
they
or
don't have
not.
to come from the HOA.
Yeah, where
We
the
need to-
shrubs and the trees, am I correct, for the most part, are not a Gateway asset?
I think there was a number of items in some areas too, common areas that we have been traditionally mowing that didn't belong to the CVD. They'd just been doing it for a while, so they were planning on getting out of that too,
I agree.
in terms
I
of the
understand that.
HOA, so.
Yeah. I don't,
And the big thing is at that point, it's through the HOA, it's not tax exempt.
I think the right of way along the concrete sidewalk, I'm not sure how far we go from the center line out that way that would maybe encumber that. On the other side with the path, that path is in and out
Yeah.
all the way up and down. Some of it's on Gateway, some of it's on ours. So I think that's something that would have to be determined, who's gonna do what.
If I remember correctly, and I believe it's the conventional 20 feet from the center point, from the center line. That is my memory.
I couldn't tell you, I know they were doing a lot of research on it.
I know
Greg
that,
Tony
and
into
we
it.
had to sit down with Brian and the other fellow who's no longer here. I can't remember his name already.
Mike?
No,
No.
and this is after Mike. I don't think he ever, maybe he did once come to a meeting here. And they talked to us, they presented this issue. I believe Margaret and I were the one who did hear that little discussion. And essentially, what they were saying is the responsibility of Gateway just goes just beyond or about the edge of the sidewalk. And I'm talking the cement sidewalk. The other side, most of that is weaving in and out and some, but. I'll
You
tell
can see
can't-
that on the, and I don't know, I just couldn't, it's hard to tell on the LIPA maps exactly where it is, but on the macadam side, you can see it pretty easily of what's wet.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of the macadam side though is in Stoneybrook, and it's not Gateway.
But what would,
The couple exceptions is that where it leaves out, there are some plantings that are on the roadside of the,
Right.
And that may fall within that boundary.
Well, I
That's all
wonder,
can think of.
you know, we sit here and we try to figure out where it goes, where it doesn't go. And for the last umpteen years, Gateway Old Fort Fund has covered all that. If we were to stay in compliance with our MOU, where the HOA is responsible to report these things, why can't we leave that the way it is?
You mean, we manage it, but still pay it
Yeah,
out?
and that's kind of the way I think the MOU kind of refers to, is that the money still goes to the old Fort Fund. I think in trying to split hairs, I think that it'd be more difficult than if we kept it the way it is, but we manage it. We manage it more than what we have been.
Well, let me say this, this could be something that is why we need to have a meeting and really talk about that.
Yeah, no question, no question.
Chris, is that a possibility that you could,
Oh, sure. I'm sure they've been working on the maps and the detailed ones, and I'm
and
sure
when you say they, it's Brian and who else?
Brian and Jim, who took Glenn's place to
Glenn, that's
oversee
what I
the
remember.
landscaping. Yep.
Okay. All right, if we can set something up and ask them when they're available, Warren, maybe myself, maybe Chris.
I'd like
Right?
I'd
We
like
could have them come right to
All
this
right, we gotta be
meeting.
careful.
Okay.
Because we're getting to a number then
Oh, never
that
mind.
we'd be overstepping.
Chris should go.
I suggest I come to this meeting.
That would be the best.
Sometimes those sit-down discussions with maps can take some time if we're willing to do that. That meeting was not short that day. That went on for a couple hours, just on that one subject. I just wanted you to be prepared for that. If that's what you want to do, we may have to start early. I don't know. I tell you what, how about we ask for Brian's suggestion on this subject? What do you think, Chris?
Sure.
All right. If he wants to do it at one of these meetings, and we'll try to keep a very minimal agenda and discuss it. But here's the problem with that. I know what's going to be. Chris can make it. I'd like to have at least another board member come down and get involved with that, so that the board knows what's going on too.
On the day.
Yeah, well, that's when this.
What day are we talking about?
What's that? We're talking about the fine.
He said what day?
No, I know what we're talking about, but what day are we talking about?
Well, we're asking for a suggestion from Brian when he and, I'm sorry, I forgot already. What's the other guy's name?
Oh, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, are available.
And you would want some board members from the HOA, correct?
Yeah. I think
So,
you say you would like.
you can count me in. You can count me in on that one because I can do both. You know, I can be advisory and board.
I understand, but what happens is if Chris here, I'm here, and Warren's here, you'd be the fourth person, and that makes it.
Unless I act as a board member only.
I don't think we can distinguish that. That was an issue with Tony way back, when the two of us were first here.
If there's enough people, I was just volunteering just to cover space. That's all.
Well, the issue here is we may not be able to get another board member if we can't bring somebody up to bring them out.
We could probably get Lou.
Lou,
He's around during the day.
all right, that's a possibility.
Who knows? Margaret, maybe you want to get her feet wet.
That's
Margaret can do it. Margaret's got some time now.
Yes, you've got a lot of time.
That's not a bad suggestion.
She knows how to get there.
I disagree with Margaret. It should be board members, not someone off the board. I don't care.
She is a board member.
Well, of that, I see what board member. Okay, I still disagree. Go ahead.
Unless the meeting is after March 29th. Then all bets are off.
Yeah.
I know.
Maybe I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm here,
But if, I guess, let's say sooner than later, only because of the fact this is going to be a budget issues for us, and which become a budget issue for Gateway, and then the next would be a budget issue for the HOA. In any case, so we're going to throw the ball in your court, Chris, on this particular issue to get those guys to tell them where and we'll do it at a, if they want to do it at a meeting, fine. If not, then it'll have to be some other time, other than what works for them. Okay?
Okay.
Everybody in the same agreement with that?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. I want to move on from that one and we'll visit that down the road. But the fact is that I'm going to consider that the Anchor Tree Service is ended. And we are not doing that anymore. And not as on a contractual basis anyway. They're not on retainer, so to speak. All right. Discuss gatehouse HVAC. This is one that wasn't handled correctly. It got handled through Shannon. Shannon assumed that she could just hand out, I guess, a bid and then turned it over to the gateway, and it got to Chris, and then Chris kicked it back to us, and we didn't know what it was all about. So now we do have 3 bids, but the problem is there that we also have, I believe in your minutes, there was something here. Is that correct? Not in the minutes, but in this little package we got? With the agenda. What the hell did I say? The agenda.
We got just a 3
The 3
proposal.
bids.
Right, with numbers.
Right.
All right.
Just
Now,
cover
this
sheet.
is not the first time we've looked at that, because I do have that piece of paper.
Right,
here.
we talked about it at the last meeting.
Right. In addition, and I do have some of the more information. I've got from Spectrum, I've got from FBI, and I have from Conditioned Air.
Were we
We're-
waiting on the 10-year warranty?
Well, that's just it.
We're not considering the last one that come in, the 4th one.
Epic Air. We had asked for them to give us something with 10 years in writing, okay?
Epic?
And Epic, this is the one that was submitted by Chad,
Right.
okay, at the last minute. We couldn't consider it at that time.
Yeah.
The high of these was Spectrum, which in their proposal did say a 10-year contract in the proposal. 10 years of a compressor and coil warranty. And they were also going to essentially replace all the parts that usually could be go
New
bad.
parts.
Where, as I recall, the others would be as needed. So there was no guarantee those parts were going to get changed. Now, the issue came down to having been down this path before. When you're commercial, I know a lot of these things wind up with 5-year warranties, not 10-year. Even if the manufacturer usually gives a 10-year, they cross it right down. And I called Spectrum, and Spectrum said that they're able to do it because even though it's essentially train-made or train-owned company, this run-true system, they don't distinguish between residential and commercial in their guarantees, that they put on their products. My answer to him was, I need to say it in the contract. I want that in the contract. I don't know if anything's come into our office or not. You guys haven't received anything here, have you? Concerning air conditioning?
3 quotes and the
Those 3
proposals.
quotes, yeah. But nothing new other than what we had seen last month.
Yeah.
All right. And obviously.
I got an email from them,
Who's that?
Spectrum.
Okay.
But it was after I talked to him, because we had talked about that, and we had some other concerns. And then you talked to him, and I have not seen since the time you talked to him.
Okay. Actually, I think we talked about the same time.
Yeah, it was right after, yeah. And I
We did it separately.
didn't bring my notes.
Well,
It says here, the email I got was from Josh, who's their search guy. As you requested per our conversation, as my proposal reads, you will have a 10-year parts and 10 years compressor warranty. As you are aware, we at Spectrum work hard and blah, blah, words, 100%, no question. And that was, I got that probably right around the same time you and I had been talking to him. I
Okay.
thought they were going to send something more formal to you, but
I never received anything. Now, don't forget.
Maybe he considers that what it was.
And we also moved our meeting up a week. I don't know if
Yeah,
that was a factor or not. Anybody have any opinions or feelings on this one?
Well, when I've read over the spectrum quote, and you look on the second page, it basically gives you a brief breakdown of the 1 year, the 10-year coils warranty, 10 years compressor. Then you move over to the next page and it says, this is the only system on the market to give commercial customers a 10-year warranty. So we're asking about commercial, and it's already
Mhm.
says that he's got
Yeah, it
commercial
is a
authority.
proposal. You want it in the contract.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
And that
I
could be
agree.
considered as being part of the
Yeah.
proposal, but when, I think if we go with Spectrum, that's one thing we would want them to put
In
more
the contract,
specific,
yeah.
more
In the
specifically,
statement,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's
And
no doubt about it.
Yeah. And they give
So if the
10, 12-year
contract
warranties
reads-
on home stuff and.
Yeah, I know they do. And I believe a couple of you have had, done business with Spectrum and are happy and pleased with them.
Heard
Most of
good
our
things.
streets. Because they did the original. In fact, they are the ones who installed the gatehouse air conditioner 15 years ago. When they built the gatehouse.
That was their
Spectrum.
installation?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, and they put in a Bryant.
Okay.
It was a Bryant, it's a Bryant in there now.
Oh,
Well-
that's training.
That's what it's saying on here. Bryant only offers a 1-year warranty, but Train is giving you the 9 more
Yeah,
years
yeah.
warranty.
They did training for me when I replaced
Mm.
them.
So then, if that was written up January 7th, and we had our meeting
The 13th.
the 13th, so then we would have had another new date updated, or we have to agree on them doing the contract before they,
Well,
Give us a
obviously, yes, that's what we're here for. We were going to consider the proposals that we had received, but then the warranty issue came up and there was another, from out in left field. I think the issue here is it's going to be either, I hate to say it, because I do like the guys over at FBI, but the fact is 5-year versus 10-year, and what's best for the community is the way we got to go. And I'm leaning toward FBI, Spectrum, I'm sorry. But, Epic Air here is 3, they're saying it's $800 cheaper, they're saying it's 10-year, but there was no follow through. And I asked Shannon to contact him, and I asked even Chad to contact him, and we've had nothing.
I've
well,
got,
I actually use FBI Air, so I highly recommend them, but when you look at the dollar numbers, it's only $500 to get that 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
That's,
And if you
Yeah.
wanted to buy
Obviously,
the
numbers don't
warranty
mean-
from FBI, it was gonna be like $1,500
Right.
more to get the extra 5 years.
and
Didn't ask about that.
the one argument that was being thrown out was that, well, this Epic is putting in a carrier. But it's not. It's something different. It's produced by ICP, which is International Comfort Products, which is one of 15 air conditioning companies under a carrier corporation. And ICP makes about 5 different types of air conditioning. So I
It's like
checked,
buying a General Motors car years ago, there was.
yeah,
top to the bottom.
and I checked, they're registered in Kentucky as a limited corporation with
LLC.
carrier, but they're also listed in Delaware by themselves as a stuff. So I checked them, tried to check them out quite a bit because I was trying to find the carrier mode in there, and I really couldn't find it other than they were one of about 15 different air conditioning companies that carrier has under their umbrella, I guess. All different names.
Joe,
so we're still
Yeah.
only considering
He said-
3.
he said
Yeah,
you
really,
wanted-
but yeah, we need to, that, we need to,
Hang on, what was
You
that?
said you weren't in the contract, but you signed this becomes a contract.
It quasi does. It does. I'm gonna tell you something though. We've been burned on that with the proposal, but I do agree. It's like a letter of intent almost. But yeah, I would agree with that, but I would still like to see an actual formal contract with them that spells it out. But you're right. I
So
won't deny that.
can we vote on it as per
Yes,
getting
and that's
that
where we're gonna
done?
bring it up. I
Okay.
have one more question, because I know that Chad had forwarded to you that other bid from Epic.
Correct.
Do you have any problem with, this is all we got and moving on and going back to Spectrum?
I don't have any problem with that at all. In my opinion, that last one came in after the bell, and we should have just stuck with our
I
original
think if
decision.
we're going,
Yeah, but at the same time, we're once again trying to do the best for the community. Unfortunately, it was cold, so
This
we,
company can't give you the 10-year warranty anyway, right?
well, they claim they can.
But it's a 10-year warranty on a lower level unit.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
I think if we're going to consider Epic, we need to put all four aside and send out a RFP with the scope of work based on, so everybody has the same information of what we're looking for.
I agree. And I was hoping that Shannon was gonna do that and we ran into her leaving. Next thing I heard, she was leaving.
Yeah.
So let me just say this. I'd like to move on in this. We're talking an $800 difference from top to bottom. We know who Spectrum is. Apparently, we've had, some of you have had good experiences with them. And they're saying 10 years. So I'd like if someone make a motion.
I move we accept the Spectrum proposal for air conditioner for $41.38.
Tom, second.
Okay, actually, Tom got this. So the Warren made the motion to accept the Spectrum proposal that was sent to us on January 7th for $41.38, and seconded by Tom Roller, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right, sorry to drag that out,
Aye.
but I know there's gonna be pushback on this when it hits the board, okay?
Yeah, let's see.
You know what, I gotta.
This one, do it right, get it done, move on.
All right, so we're going with Spectrum. And are we paying this out of our, trying to think, what line item can we do this out of? What would you suggest, Chris? We have something that includes the gatehouse, I believe. I don't have a budget in front of me.
Well, I'll have to look at it and see where the money is available, and I'll send you a confirmation email.
Okay.
And one thing, you have to excuse me, but I don't know if I was remiss on this, but I didn't have clear, I don't know if I walked out on your paving proposals between Atlantic, Bain, and Boness at the last meeting.
We need to get
We're gonna come
that.
back to that,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I was a little unclear if we actually approved it, but I think we wanted to talk to the board. I know that Warren brought it up to them and they
Right.
were in agreement. And so, yeah, we will, that's scheduled to happen. And
Okay.
the reason that one of the reasons we moved this meeting up was so we know we weren't going to make the meeting tomorrow, but we should be able to make the next
Oh, yeah.
meeting
We
this
have,
month.
we have till
and
next
do that.
Tuesday to do
Okay.
that. And I mentioned I have to run out for about 45 minutes. I had another setup to go to, but I'll have Georgia come in and shut the recording off.
Okay.
But I'll get back to you on the purchase order and the budget with that, and anything else, just let me
Yeah,
know. Send
well,
me an
the
email.
meeting with Brian
Oh, yeah, I've got it.
and Jim,
Yes.
okay?
Chris,
Mhm.
is there any way we can get this paving proposal to the board tomorrow?
No.
Probably not.
No,
No, we gotta get it on the,
We had planned that, and I guess I had planned that.
Right.
And that's gonna put, if we got it approved tomorrow, they'd probably be able to start before the end of the month. If we wait 2 weeks, it's gonna be in the March before we're gonna be able to get the CADM stuff done, so.
yeah, and unless it's an emergency.
Let's see, a liability emergency, we have a lot of.
It's very difficult, and especially
Yeah,
when you
I
start going
I
$20,000, $30,000. It's really that 7-day of public ability to comment on it and having the board agenda published.
It is, it has, that's,
Okay.
I understand.
But I'll take care of those two, and if you have the same thing, I'll get the agenda item ready.
Are they still-
And we can issue it that same day, like on the 18th, after
Okay.
the board meeting,
Okay.
send it, and say, hey, it's coming.
And make them aware of that.
Yeah, I've been in touch with the general manager on that, and I said, it's kind of hope we get it done now. And, because they don't have that many teams in the area like some of the other, but everybody's just so busy. It's 4 to 6 weeks as soon as you approve something for any of them. So,
I can get in touch with them, you approve it today, and I'll say we're putting it on the agenda. It's just a formality, and you can plan on getting your formal notice on that day, so schedule the work.
All right, so we can.
okay, yeah, we're good, we're
All
good.
right, good.
Yep.
All right, well, we haven't approved it yet, but we will in a bit. So we're good with the air conditioner. My question is, where to pay it for? Out of what fund? It's gonna be out of the 004 fund, but what
Chris-
money we want to use it out of? And
Said he would look
he's
it up.
gonna look it up, okay.
I'll have to get back with this.
I didn't know if he was cutting out right this minute or not.
Yep, I think so.
What was the total price again? If it's under 5,000, does it go through the board? What was the agreement that we had with Gateway Services?
The Gateway Services has the ability to approve, he being Chris, up to 10.
Yeah,
up to
Chris will
10
approve
grand.
that, yeah.
So that's an automatic.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a problem. They won't even see it. The only issue, the board I was referring to was our HOA board, because there was some pushback or attempt to get a fourth entry into the whole thing, but we never heard anything more about it. And I just as soon go with someone right now that we do know. And get all the parts changed, and hopefully we'll be good for another 15 years.
Yeah. It's a piece of crap too. Down looking at it.
What's that?
That air conditioner down there is a piece of crap.
Oh, it's that bad a shape?
Oh,
you
it
mean?
is bad. It is really bad.
Okay.
Luckily, it's been
Cool,
cold, so.
yeah.
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 It got hot air blowing.
Well, we've been putting a Band-Aid on it for a long time.
Take it easy, Chris. All right. So I'll tell you what. I don't know that you have it in front of you, but I have it here somewhere about the parking codes. It's another issue.
Meeting dates?
No, I'm not ready for that yet. I wanted to do the approval on the, and I have it here somewhere. I know I brought it.
The minutes or the meeting dates?
No, about the road work, about the paving. I want to approve that. We never really approved that at the
Oh.
last meeting.
I
You
thought
have
we
that?
Didn't get all my stuff out here.
Oh. This is the route. Yeah, I got it with the
Yeah.
Bain and Atlantic.
Bain, Atlantic,
and
and
Bonus.
Bonus, yeah.
Bonus, whatever it is. And the three that we have were Bain, Atlantic, and Bonus. And we had discussed it, but I don't think we ever had a formal vote here. Does anybody
Yeah.
remember?
I can't remember seeing
I'm
it.
just now getting.
Yeah,
No, it's
Because
okay.
what we were going to approve for Atlantic Southern was without the seal coat. The seal coat, we'll do it later.
Right, it would be after rainy season.
Yeah, and that was for a total of $27,213 to do the patchwork,
Right.
which now we can get done. So somebody give me a motion to approve this Atlantic Southern for $27,213.
I have to make the motion.
Okay,
to approve it.
Virginia makes a motion to,
Second.
and we got a second from Chris. And that's for $27,213 from Atlantic Southern, a bid to do the patchwork and repairs as necessary on the paved walkway. All in favor?
Aye.
That is now passed.
Aye.
Okay, and so it's unanimous. All right, so that'll be in the minutes, and hopefully it'll be on the minutes and for the Board of Supervisors at their next meeting, which is what, the 17th, you said? So 18th, I think, 18th. And Warren's going to contact the company, let them know that they can pretty much count on that happening, okay? Warren?
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
All right, now we got this idea of discussing the meeting schedule from the second to the first Wednesday of the month. I don't know if that's a big problem for JT, but right now we have moved the date around in the past to try to get into the next meeting after us. But what's happened is they're extending how much time they need notification and information from us to get it on their agenda. And now it's up to 8 days, which means we could not have had this meeting next Wednesday and have gotten on the following Thursday meeting. So right now, I'm making a suggestion to everyone that we change it to the first Wednesday of the month. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I do not.
I don't have a problem with it, but on the schedule, they've skipped like April and it says March 31st when you look at the dates.
Because
Yeah.
So the
That's
current one,
because the
if,
first Wednesday is
the first
March
Wednesday
31st.
would be the 31st.
Be the last, it's the last day of the month. I don't have a problem with that. I think that
Well, June the same way.
it's 4 weeks.
so during April, instead of April
Then
7th,
shouldn't we have it the following Wednesday though?
I was just thinking the first would be,
The first Wednesday of the month, and the 31st of March is not the first Wednesday of April. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Right.
April the 7th is,
But-
but then you have the problem with their meeting
but it's a meeting
Do we?
every 4 weeks.
here.
so,
Oh,
well, it's either you're saying it's the first Wednesday of every month or it's every 4 weeks. That's where I got
Yeah.
confused, because when I see April 7th, on my calendar,
I'm
that's
not saying
open.
every 4 weeks. I'm saying the first Wednesday.
So then we need to find out why the meeting wouldn't be scheduled for April the 7th instead.
Where do you see that? 'Cause I don't-
On the
That doesn't-
proposed, to the right. So these are proposed. So it's instead of March
You must,
31st.
okay, you must have it and I don't have it here or I misplaced it. Let me see
We
what
all
you
have
got.
this copy, right?
Yeah, I didn't have that.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Let's start writing on it.
That's fine. All right, the current schedule would have been April 7th, but
Like, I'm just wondering, do they all need to be changed or just focus on, instead of every 4 weeks, focus on the first Wednesday of every month?
I think the first Wednesday was every
That was
month
the
was,
goal, I thought,
okay?
last meeting.
And that would be my goal, is to go,
See, April the 1st is a Thursday, so they would have their meeting the 8th and the 22nd.
Yeah, they'd have their meeting the first, the board.
you think they'd have their second meeting on the 15th though? And go through the second half of the month with no meeting?
Yeah. It's the first and third.
That's why I did that.
I see, okay, I understand
Okay,
that.
just ask Georgia.
Well, even under our old schedules, there
Yeah.
were 2 months of the year that we didn't have it on the second Wednesday.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing.
So I would like to keep it to the first Wednesday myself, to be consistent. Because you know what, I'll be honest, I'll forget, which month was it? It's gonna,
Yeah, Yeah, somewhere right.
Let's keep it to the first Wednesday. I know I can remember that.
So the 7th then?
And if,
We can always change it up. We can always change it in time being if it's gonna screw up the supervisor meeting. Like we can always change it for 1 month.
right, if it's a pressing subject, we want to make sure that gets to a supervisor board meeting that month. I would agree with that. We can anticipate that. So let's go with the, okay,
So the only two we would change is where it says March 31st, that would be April 7th. Instead of June 30th, that would be July 5th.
correct. Everybody okay with that?
We're gonna stick with the
Yes.
first
First Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I load my calendar a year in advance anyway, so I don't have to remember it.
All right, well, you're better than me. But, all right, appreciate that. Thank you, George.
And the goal is to be able to get things to the other board to get things done. And that
Yeah,
works.
that is the goal. And if we anticipate a problem, we can do it, move it up,
Because otherwise it works.
make it happen. All right, so we approved the patch.
And I can usually make every meeting. The only reason why I didn't make today's meeting is because if my wife is working, I can't pick up the kids and be at the meeting at the same time. So the only way we'd only avoid this one is to have the meetings like at 4, which I don't think anyone wants to do.
All right, well, I do have other things I was going to talk about, but I'm gonna pass. It's been an hour. That's long enough. I've got a conference call I gotta make at 4:30, get back there and I gotta prepare for that. Anybody, there's nobody obvious in the audience. Anybody have any comments here?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead. I have one.
At the last meeting, Tom Roller made a good point, and Angela made a good point that we talk about the jurisdictional aspects of things. And Joe handed out this sheet here today. And Angela's requested, well, she'd like to read something. So I went through all the material I had and picked out several things that would be particular and appropriate for what we're talking about. And I don't want to get into them other than you guys read them. And just as a quick synopsis, there are 6 pages or 6 articles here I've included. One is a copy of the sectional law that we're dealing with. 2 is the approval from the Lee County Commissioners in 2006 for the debt for the sheriff to patrol the roadways. And there's some highlighted areas in there that state that the HOA says that they own the roads, et cetera, et cetera. And that's one thing. Another thing I put in here is an Attorney General's opinion from 2009. It's not directly for the CDD, but it is for special districts. And when you read this sort of says that the CDD or a special district can use Section 316 to have the sheriff come in to enforce the county traffic laws on those roadways. So I put a copy of that Attorney General's opinion in there.
I have that too.
The other thing, one of the things you have to kind of show is who owns the roads. And there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, Joe and I probably have 10 inches of stuff that show from Tony and all the people, all the stuff of this and that. I made a copy of the request from the CDD to the Attorney General requesting that the CDD be able to turn the roadways over to Stoneybrook. And I also included a copy of the Attorney General's response, which says, no, you own the roads. That's the way it is. You can't give it to the Stoneybrook. The last thing I included in here is the email that prompted this that Joe passed out today on the highlighted things. And I think you read that, and I think my feeling is that they're taking the easy way out and saying what she's saying, as long as they have a signed document by somebody and it hasn't been changed, that they could go ahead and do that. Well, I think after you read all these different things, I think you'll see that probably is the case. So I made one of these for everybody. So you can.
And that's good, because I'll tell you what, Warren, it's going to make me easier to put in some of the paperwork that you don't have in here.
Well,
And
I
can sort
think,
it in.
what I've tried to do is put the stuff that is more prevalent and more understandable without, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that can go in there.
So you've already done all the
Yeah, but
homework.
I will tell you some of the things I have that are continuations of some of what you just talked about.
Well, but
With
it's, yeah,
clarifications.
and I don't want to, I agree with Tom. I think we beat this horse to death. And I feel strongly that we don't, we still need to convert it because, if something major happens.
Well,
and
let me
with
say
the
this,
different
that,
things going on, I would hate to have the
Did you
liability.
give some of these, make up some of this for Chris? Because Chris was formulating a letter, working with Tony to get the letter.
Yeah, I've got, I
Okay.
didn't want to hand them out. I was gonna
Because
give him
he-
one today, but I didn't want to hand them out till the board got them.
He
So
had requested.
I have
from me
extra copies.
Some of those things
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, 'cause,
I don't know why he needed it, to just made a simple letter requesting them to allow.
And I don't,
But there are some things you're gonna be surprised when I do
Well,
find them and put them in here.
but to me, it comes down to black and white. No, we
Well,
don't, the HOA does not own the property.
Right, and that's why I think the letter in 2006 is really irrelevant.
Well, it is, the only thing that really brings out is that the HOA is saying they own the roads, control the roads, et cetera, which they did in 2006. But it also states in that letter that all the stuff that they needed to prove, the signage being proper, all that stuff is listed in there that it's already done. So
And
it's
we
something
have.
we don't have to do.
Right,
Yeah, so,
we have.
yeah.
In fact, as I recall, you were president when we changed the speed from 19 to 25.
I
because
think
we couldn't-
that went
We
with this.
could not enforce the speed limit
Right.
in there without being that.
Yeah, and I think that was the one thing that initiated that. So, so that'll give you some bedtime reading material.
Okay, well, it's 4:04 and I gotta go myself, so I'm sure everybody else wants to get out of here.
Quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so does JT get added onto the meeting since he is here in attendance on the phone?
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but that's a good point. If we can say that JT, I believe, was around 3:05, 3:06.
It was about 3:10. I tried getting on around 2:58, but I was having a hard time, so that's why I had to do the call then.
So 3:10, JT joined the meeting over the conference that we have here.
And the next,
And have that in the minutes, please.
next question is our.
And then the paperwork that Warren has, if he could get me a copy, I can pick it up from him personally. Yeah, you can leave it at the office if you like.
I've copied it all, and I can send you an email with all the stuff on it.
Perfect. That works out fine.
And the next meeting will be on March 10th, which is actually,
I thought it was March 3rd.
No, March 3rd.
No,
That's
My
what-
error.
March 3rd.
March 3rd is the first Wednesday in March, and that's when we'll be, yeah.
That needs to be corrected because it was on our,
Yeah, so I'm letting everybody know it's March 3rd. Everything's gonna be the first Wednesday. So
Thank you.
whatever the first Wednesday is, just remember that. It's not March 31st. It's going to be April 7th. It's not June 30th. It's going to be
July.
July 5th.
July 7th.
Fifth.
July
7th.
7th. 7th here. That's what it says. I assume they're right.
I have a
The calendar
copy
shows
on
on
my
it.
desk, a copy of the Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee meeting, marked up copy. Am I the only one that got that?
I don't have it.
Oh, you're right. 7th.
It was probably left behind by them. Just leave it there. Somebody will find it.
And the only thing I wanted to add that I did contact Waste Pro today because
Okay.
it started back in December. I noticed it and then I noticed it a lot more in January. I finally sent the email today. But because I go down all the streets with house sitting, pet sitting, either daily or weekly. And I noticed that it's consistent. When you like stop near a mailbox, you stop to pick up somebody's trash can or the recycling bin. There's these oil drips. Well, they've gradually gotten worse over the past month. So I did contact them, I got them an email, and they're going to work on that. So they need to be able to prove that they're doing like correct maintenance on their trucks because it's damaging our roads. One time we had really bad spill drag. This is a
I do
constant.
remember that.
This is the
yeah.
beginning of something really bad that could happen. So the
Yeah.
email was sent
Yeah,
out,
catch it while it's early, before the roads get damaged.
hoping.
And did you copy Gateway on that communication?
No, because sometimes you have to be like a personal homeowner complaining to get stuff done.
But I'd
for
like
customer
them to
service.
know this is going on.
Okay, I
All
will.
right.
Send it directly to Chris.
Sure, why not?
Or Georgia.
I would go to
Georgia's
customer
fine.
care. They'll get
Customer
it, so
care. That's what I
Customer
should
care.
do.
They will get it to who's gonna handle it.
Okay,
And
do everything
but
in
what you're
customer
doing,
care.
I'm
Yeah,
asking you
here.
to send a copy that where your communication, they can read it. So it goes on the record, okay?
okay, to Gateway Services.
Yes, just to
Customer
keep
care.
them in the loop, which then keeps us in the loop here.
Okay.
All right? I'll take
That
a
was it.
motion
To adjourn.
to adjourn by Warren, and we'll get a second from Angela.
You got
All in
three
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's gonna be a lot easier to remember the first Wednesday of every month.
Hope so.
Okay. I want to make sure I put it on my.
Curry
main
smoke and
sheet.
barbecue tonight at
Oh,
food truck.
yeah, shut things down.
Oh, I usually
sure
post that
buttons
on the page.